This is Boxing Tickets NI in association with SB Sports and Chaco. We're delighted to be joined once again with our good friend, the Iceman, Keane McMahon. How are you, mate?
What's happening, bro? I'm good, mate. You?
It's a good start to a Thursday morning. The cold weather's kicking in. We're doing what we can to keep warm.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the world in which we're living in now, aren't we?
100%, mate. You have to just do what you have to do.
We do. Obviously, we've had a wee chat. We sort of like to warm people up before we get talking because I guess early morning interviews sometimes I'm probably nearly the first person you'll have a proper conversation with in the morning other than your kid.
Yeah.
So it's sort of
Literally.
sometimes warming up. But I guess the last time we spoke, you were obviously on the verge of a dream. You know, as a child, you obviously wanted to fight at Madison Square Garden. You've now done
Yeah.
it. You know, I guess you say sometimes the dreams and the reality sometimes don't. For most people, they don't happen. What's it feel like to you now, knowing that you fought at Madison Square Garden? Does it was a dream worth all that years of slog, or does it
Yeah.
have you seen wanting more?
Yeah. Well, obviously, when I think back, like I think it sort of just goes by in a flash, like, do you know what I mean? It wasn't that like I expected, to be honest with you. I like it was better than what I expected. I didn't expect it to be um in a 6 round fight on such a big card, you know, that kind of way. But yeah, look, there's loads of positives to take from. I think when I look back on the fight, after the fight, I was thinking, I don't think I won, but I've watched the fight a couple of times, and I'm convinced that I done enough to win. But like you say, you have to sort of go over there and dominate to get a decision. You know what I mean? I started slow, which is never good either. You know what I mean? I'm always doing. I'm always starting slow and then trying to pick up the pieces towards the end of the fight. But yeah, I think the whole experience of New York and Madison Square Garden was unbelievable. Yeah.
I guess it just leaves you that hunger. I guess feeling more. I guess when you look back in years to come, you know, fighting in the Burbia Smith card in Madison Square Garden. You know, when Clay's obviously growing up, and you'd be going, "Do you remember when Daddy fought at MSG?" You know,
Yeah.
it's them wee conversations you always have. And I guess when you're telling your kids as well, you know, come on, do this and you'll achieve this. You're testament to that fact now that they're going to believe every word that you say because you had a dream and it come true. So if they have a dream, it's up to them to work hard to get that reality as well.
Absolutely. I think that's exactly it. You know what I mean? But I'm trying to show them that dreams come true by action. You know what I mean? Yeah, you can believe in all, but you have to put the work in as well. And I worked since I'm a kid to get to that stage, and yeah, the decision didn't go my way. But I think there's more big nights for me as well. I think I'll be on more big cards because I think, you know, I have an appeal. I think people like me, and obviously I'm talented enough to be on them shows. You know what I mean? I didn't get blown out of water or anything like that. So
But do you sort of, when you look back, obviously, I guess you probably had a good build up on the fact that there was a sort of a bit of confrontation in the build up before the fight. Obviously, JJ Brown obviously decided they want to have a bit of verbals beforehand, I guess. Probably the bad thing is it wasn't on TV, you know, but it probably
mm,
built more into the fight and probably maybe got you up a few more slots in the card. But obviously in the hotel, you're sort of having that back and forth and you're loving it, you know, like
oh yeah,
Irish fighters love a bit of back and forth, you know,
yeah.
that's the bread and butter for a lot, you know, and you know, I guess when you sort of look at them wee things, if I'm being probably honest as I always am to anybody, I'd probably say we probably didn't see the best of you on the night, which you
No,
probably nearly agree as well. Like I
yeah,
think
100%.
probably the atmosphere and probably the occasion maybe took more control of obviously what you maybe wanted to do.
Oh, definitely. I was very, very nervous. Like even in the dressing room, I was like when I was sitting down warming up after warming up, I sit down, and like my legs were shaking and all. I'm never usually nervous before fights, but obviously like it's a massive occasion. Do you know what I mean? And then you had people saying before the fight that this fella is a ridiculous puncher and all. Um, but once he hit me, I was like, I've been hit hard on sparring, to be honest with you, and I genuinely believe I'm a better fighter than him. Like he beat me and all, he got the decision, but I genuinely believe if that fight happened again, I'd 100% beat him. Probably would have actually been better if we got 8 rounds. I think I was coming on strong, like very, very strong. I had a big last round, and he was fading. Do you know what I mean? So, but it's over now. Do you know what I mean? Just had to move on.
Yeah, exactly. I guess you sort of can't look back at it and discuss sort of too much. Like at say the fifth and the sixth round, you were sort of bossing the fight. It was sort of when I was watching, I was sort of going, you know, from what you were displaying, you were sort of losing your jab and sort of at times, and obviously the
Mm,
jab's the sort of thing that set everything up. And I was sort of going, if you were throwing the jab probably a bit stronger in the earlier rounds, you could have maybe
mm.
got him to gas probably a bit more, and you could have went
It
to
took me
town on
3 rounds
him.
to throw the jab. It literally, and usually you'll get me range early. Do you know what I mean? He actually out jabbed me in the first round, which doesn't happen. I don't really get like, I never really get outboxed like with the jab. You know what I mean? I can stand in the middle of the ring and out jab anyone, but it was just one of them things where I wasn't getting off, and then Stephen was rattling me in the corner. And once I start waking up, then I'm realizing that look, this fella is not all that. You know what I mean? I start busting him to the body and all, and it's just one of them things you learn from. You know what I mean?
I could sort of tell between rounds that obviously, as if you were sort of still in that sort of dream mode and sort of going, is this real? Sort of, and
Mm.
Stephen sort of having to go, come on, do you really want this? Did you
Mate,
find that sort of inspiring, or did it still to sort of take you a few rounds to sort of grasp the fact that you're going, I'm standing in the middle of Madison Square Garden fighting?
yeah. I mean, if you look at the fight, like if you look at the fight, every time you got into a clinch, yeah, I was looking at the screen. I
You're
was like
seeing
looking up.
yourself on the screen.
Yeah, I was like, what the? I couldn't like. It just doesn't happen. Do you know what I mean? It was just so weird. Like, and then you have people screaming, and it was just mad. Like, do you know what I mean? But once I woke up, I felt I won every round. Once I woke up, I won every round after that. Do you know what I mean? If I had started like that, I'd have dominated the fight. And another thing as well, you got to take into consideration. The guy was very big on the night as well. Probably deceptively big. He probably didn't look huge, but he was physically strong. You know what I mean? So it was another reason for me to not be fighting probably at 154. Do you know what I mean?
What would you sort of, because I guess, Kieran Malloy was obviously supposed to fight in the card and it sort of fell through sort of last minute. What would you
Mm-hmm.
sort of, what would you say, advice would you sort of give to anybody that's sort of, let's face it, because for any boxer that sort of goes and fights at an historic venue at Madison Square Garden, it's going to be, you know, mental sort of in ways, you've now experienced and it sort of took you a few rounds. What sort of advice would you sort of give to someone, that's maybe going to fight in a venue like that in the future? Is it just sort of have to just knuckle down and just forget that the occasion you're
Yeah,
in?
yeah. I suppose just forgetting about the occasion you're in. It's hard to do, like because obviously there's so much going. Like it was what was going on in New York at the time as well. Like like all the fighters are in the hotel and stuff. So you're walking by world class fighters all the time, and it's just me being a boxing fan. I'm looking around saying, like, Jesus, like it's mad. Like I seen Robeisio Ramirez, I seen Beterbiev. I'm walking by them and they're saying, like, wishing me luck and all. It's mad, like. So it was just something I was never used to before. But I think if I was giving anyone advice, it'd just be, yeah, just knuckle down and focus on the job at hand and forget about the occasion. Yeah.
And I guess obviously since then you sort of had a bit of time to relax and unwind. You're obviously supposed to be fighting in Denmark a few weeks ago, and unfortunately, just obviously for all the reasons, obviously the card sort of didn't happen. Where do you sort of put? You're only young still as well. Ken, you're only 28,
Mm.
so you're still pretty much just like still probably to come into the twilight years.
Yeah,
Not just
absolutely.
as I say that in a way as well. Obviously, Irish boxing's booming at the minute. The fact that the over 30s or Ando Kakachi, Eric Donovan, Dennis Hogan, Dara Foley, all
Hmm.
all in their sort of mid sort of 30s are still showing they still have it. Can you look at that sort of inspiration of what they've done recently and go, you know what, I'm only 28, but by the
Mm.
time I get into my 30s, I could be having that success as well.
100%. I only talked about this to Stephen after the fight. I'm getting better every fight, and I feel like almost like an old man in a young body. Do you
Mm.
know what I mean? But like in terms of knowledge and stuff, even though I've only had 10 fights, like I've been in hard fights and I've been in testing fights early. I think I think I can definitely push on and get better. And I do believe I can still win titles and stuff. You know what I mean? I know I've been in tough fights and like we're taking fights on the road and stuff, but I still believe I can get to European level and maybe win a European title. Yeah.
I guess it's that experience. Sometimes I've sort of been touching the fact that you've sort of lost 3 of your last 4, but it's that
Mm.
experience that sometimes you can't buy. You
Yeah.
fought in that Madison Square Garden, you went to Belgium and obviously fought a top prospect there. Where do you sort of see where do you sort of see and envisage your next steps? Sort of is it get sort of back to winning ways and then sort of start to look at bigger fights, or what's the sort of thought process behind where to go next?
Yeah, look, a win is important in me next fight, maybe even me next 2 fights. But I'm the kind of person like if I got offered a big fight that I felt I could win, I'd take it anyway because it's like wins and losses don't really mean anything to me now. I know people say boxing is like snakes and ladders, but not necessarily because if you look at like looks at Tevin Farmer and all, he lost a lot of his early fights, and then you look at Sam Eggington lost. He was like losing fights early on as well. You know what I mean? So it's not really. I don't really take. I don't really take on from wins and losses as long as I'm just improving and getting better and getting the opportunities. I'll take any fight. But yeah, obviously a win in my next 2 or 3 would be important. Yeah.
I guess it's like, it's like anything nowadays, it's like if you focus so much on one thing, you'll never improve in another. And the good thing for you is if you feel confident, you feel fresh in your ability still, even after a few defeats, that's
Mm-hmm.
obviously inspiration to others. The fact that, yes, you lose your unbeaten record, it's crap. You've obviously highlighted the fact that Tevin Farmer, I think he lost 3 of his first 4 fights and still become a
Yeah,
world
there you go.
champion. I
Mm-hmm.
remember, I think Paddy Barnes, I think he said he lost his first 7.
Yeah,
Am I
amateur
right in
fights. Yeah.
thinking 7, maybe his first 7
Yeah,
amateur fights?
yeah, I heard that.
And
Yeah.
obviously, look at he and all to achieve as an amateur and things like that. It's
Mm.
it's that sort of it's a confidence within sometimes that because boxing is a brutal game. You know, you
Oh yeah.
you you win sometimes and you get no sort of applause. You lose and you maybe lose. You get a bit of disrespect from people. So to keep that confidence probably the most important thing at any stage of a fighter's career.
Yeah, look, I learned a long time ago not to care about what people think. You know what I mean? Because when at the end of the day, I'm in there in the ring. Do you know what I mean? They can say people outside can say what you want, but they're not going through what I'm going through in training camp. And there's a lot happens during a training camp. Do you know what I mean? You have life getting in the way as well. But I think the biggest thing I take from not not caring about losses and stuff is that I fought at a high level. I think, and it's not like I've been dominated. Like, yeah, obviously in Belgium I got stopped and all. But if you look at I boxed Dan Sutherland, like, look at the success he's gone on to have since fighting me. He's won like a youth world title. He's won a WBC title. He's fighting. I think he's fighting for a Commonwealth title in his next fight.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the actual belt or anything's been announced yet, but I do know that obviously he does have a bigger fight coming in November.
Yeah, I think he's fight. I'm almost certain he's fighting that super welterweight for the Commonwealth title. And
Yeah,
that
he
was a
is.
that, yeah,
Lewis Green for the Commonwealth Super Welterweight belt.
and that's a fight he'll probably win as well. Do you know what I mean? So for a high level, and that was a very close fight. That could have been a draw even. And then obviously, if you look at the guy in Belgium, I was very competitive in that fight until I got nailed to the body, so you can't recover from them.
Hmm.
And then if you look at me last fight against a serious prospect, like one of the best prospects in America, they're saying I probably won that fight. You know what I mean? It's just so I'm taking solace in the fact that I'm performing well, and that's you know what I mean. The results are who cares about them.
Is it sort of something now where I guess 2022 seems to be the new year of obviously domestic sort of action? You know, we've had Graham McCormick and Dominic Donegan. We've had, we're having Owen O'Neill and Owen Duffy obviously fighting shortly. There seems to be quite a lot of domestic fights sort of happening. I guess it makes sense in some ways because rather than slogging your way through a training camp, to then, no disrespect to journeymen or anything like that, but when you're paying the money out that you have to pay to fight, you'd
Mm-hmm.
rather obviously have that G up. You can have a domestic dust up with someone. Is I know that obviously you've been able to see, in the last day or so, obviously our polls on Instagram and sort of fights have been made. Is it sort of now where you sort of look at maybe trying to get back into the domestic level and pick up a few belts before going back towards European level?
100%. I'm interested in a lot of domestic fights. Seeing the guy, what's the guy that got met? Tony's lad.
Yeah, it
Um,
was
Keating, Daniel Keating.
Daniel Keating. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be interested. I don't really know much about him, but yeah, I'll take that for you if they want. And obviously, Crocker got mentioned, but I think Crocker's a little bit. Crocker's sort of British, European level now. Do you know what I mean? So that I don't think that fight's gonna really materialize. But yeah, obviously they have Daniel Keane ahead of me in the rankings, which is I just don't understand it at all, to be honest. So yeah, he can get the smoke if he wants.
And I guess when you see that, because you can campaign, are you ideally going to be back at welterweight, or is there still, I guess, with domestic fights, is there still the opportunity of obviously super welter?
Ah, yeah, like if the fights happen, do you know what I mean? It'll be between 147 and 154, if the fights make sense. Who's even around welterweight and 154? Do you know what I mean? I think you take out like there's Paddy Donovan, McKenna, and all, but them fights aren't gonna happen for me. They're going a different way. Do you know that kind of way? That could happen down the line, but I don't think the likes of Paddy Donovan and McKenna are looking at me just yet. They're like fighting for youth world titles and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you probably have yourself only and Danny at 147. Obviously, your stablemate Tiernan Bradley, which is never going to
Yeah,
happen.
but he's not a welterweight though. He's gonna come back down, I think. Um, and then even the 154. I mean, there's some good fights at 154. I speak a lot with Paul Ryan, and we talked about that fight a few times now. But obviously we're mates and stuff. So, but that's a fight I'd like as well. If it made sense, I'd take that fight. You know what I mean? But we just talk a lot, and it's probably better for us just. I'm probably gonna campaign like a fight like that would have to be for the titles. You know what I mean? Either at 154 or at 147. So.
You look at 154 and it's sort of stacked. To say other than probably what the top two in the division, which is Dennis Hogan and Kevin Adyarko, anywhere down from there, I think I spoke to Mark Dunlop about this as well. You can nearly do like a Super Six or a Super Eight tournament, and at some stage, obviously, Celtic and Irish titles are on the line. Like looking at some of them here is Callum Walsh, Paul Ryan, Brett McGinty, Kieran Malloy, Owen Duffy, Dominic Donegan. You've obviously Owen O'Neill in there as well. Danny Sullivan coming through. The division's stacked at 154 in
Yeah,
Ireland.
that's what I'm saying. Like, if the fights make sense, I don't mind going up to 154. Do you know what I mean? But naturally, I am a welterweight. Do you know what I mean? So if we can get, I think that the BOI title at welterweight is vacant. So if we can get a willing adversary for that title, it'd be nice to pick up. You know what I mean?
So I guess potentially at 147, maybe the only fight that could happen for a Celtic or Irish title could be Danny Keating. I know Luke Carfrey's obviously there at the moment, but he was obviously having to come up and wait for fights. So I think he's naturally 135 or 140. So you could even regard, him as sort of being in there. I guess, well, he wouldn't always be in the weight class either, but obviously you have Declan Geraghty, but I think he'll campaign at 140 as well. So, but
Yeah, I think.
Irish fight
Yeah,
is sort of what
he's
you would like
small as
then.
well. Let me say that again. Sorry.
Irish fight is sort of what you would like to sort of have, I guess. That's a memorable
Yeah,
fight,
well,
isn't it?
it's 100% because I never got that all Irish fight when I was campaigning in Ireland. Like I never really I was supposed to fight a couple of times against Irish opponents and all the fights fell through. But I don't even know your man Danny Keating. I'm not aware of him but just I felt there was a little bit disrespected that he's ahead of me in the rankings. But yeah, if that fight happens, I know Tony well, so we'll see. I don't know.
Yep, definitely. And sort of finally then, when are you sort of hoping to get back into action? I guess the other thing I want to touch on as well is boxing's coming back to Dublin, obviously next month. It's been, I think, maybe 3.5 years, maybe since it was back in maybe longer since it was in the National Stadium. It's obviously
Yeah.
massive for boxing in the South. I guess like anybody, you'll sort of be eyes obviously on it to see how things go, because I guess it's like a trial sort of period, because let's face it, boxing in the South can't really happen because of other things that's been on in the past with insurance, insurance costs rising so much. So I guess like anybody, be keeping eyes on that to make sure everything passes off successfully. So insurance companies can first of all bring the prices down, and then we can get more boxing back again in the South.
Yeah, look at we're beating the same drum, aren't we? You just don't know with Ireland what's gonna happen. Do you know what I mean? It's just too much money. Obviously, I'd love to be fighting back in Dublin, but you just don't know what's gonna happen. Do you know what I mean? Even if it like, yeah, ideally I'd like to fight in Ireland, even Belfast. Belfast's a great city. If we could get a fight in Belfast, I'd be delighted. They're real boxing people up there. And now a good fight at NDC one. Do you know what I mean? So if nothing happens in Dublin, I'd like to ideally fight in Belfast, or even in the UK. There's a couple of names in the UK that I'm looking at as well. A fight that I mentioned to you before, I think, was Joe Laws,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a blatant great fight because I know Joe Laws and he's mad as well. Do you know what I mean? So I'd like that fight to happen, but there's loads of fights out there. So I mean, I'm just gonna see what happens.
It's good to hear you, because I know when we normally talk on sort of private meals, we can talk about sort of fights sometimes, but it doesn't sort of really happen, in
No.
interviews. And I guess I've sort of early mornings seem to be the new way to get Keane McMahon. They mention fights.
Yeah, I'm not that kind of bloke, to be honest with you, because like I've done all that before where I've called. I don't like calling people out because sometimes it can be disrespectful. And everyone that fights deserves respect in that kind of way. But I've done that before, and the fights never happened. You know what I mean? I've never heard anyone call him. Nobody ever calls me out ever. So I don't know what that like. I don't know what that is like. But yeah, it's just time to start making these fights happen because I'm not getting any younger. I'm 20, like you said. But you said I was young, but I don't feel I'm getting any younger. So I'm gonna, I have to make the most of what I can.
I guess sometimes it can nearly be seen as respectful, sort of in the way if someone's not calling you out, it's probably because they fear you nearly in ways. So you can nearly take it one or two ways. You're going,
Mm.
someone call me out, I want to fight, or if they're not calling you out, there's a reason why they're not calling you out. It's because they just
Yeah.
respect you too much as a fighter.
Yeah, but yeah, I'd like to think that as well. I think I'm a nice enough guy, do you know what I mean, as well. That I wouldn't be disrespecting people off a whim, like. But at the end of the day, like, I still want to be in these fights. I want to be involved in these fights, and I think as well, I'm sort of in the Who Needs Him club. Like, people aren't gonna take a chance against me because they know I'm good, and yet they're looking at the record, and it looks bad if they lose against a guy who lost. Do you know that kind of way? Even though they know I'm good, do you know that kind of way?
Mm.
So it's a weird one, yeah.
It definitely is. And sort of finally then, because obviously I promised you I'd only keep it to about half an hour in length. Um, when do you see yourself next out in action? Are you hoping to get another fight before the end of the year, or are you just now starting to think of the turkey and Christmas Day?
Yeah, no, ideally I'd like to get out before the end of the year, but if it doesn't happen, then it'll be a big 2023. Or yeah, so we'll see what happens. I'm still
Definitely.
taking the turkey though.
The turkey's happening regardless.
I
Even
might
if
have
you
turkey today.
even if you have to fight the turkey in the ring, that'll happen.
Yeah.
you know.
That's it.
But I guess it's like anything. It's great when we get a catch up. It's good to start the morning with a laugh and a joke and a smile, and I'm
Yeah,
sure whatever happens the rest of the day, you're going to smash it out of the park. Um,
100%.
but hopefully, obviously, you do get some fight news soon. Maybe something might come off the back end of this interview. It's
Yeah.
obviously your Joe Laws might mail or Danny Keating might say, "Well, let's fight in Dublin."
Mm.
You just don't know what can happen. And I guess as you only well know, 6 months ago, you didn't even know Madison Square Garden was going to happen. For then to
Yeah.
happen, anything now happen, anything's a possibility.
Absolutely. Anything's a possibility. But yeah, just keep trucking away and we'll see what happens. I know for a fact I'm gonna have a great career, so we'll see what happens.
Definitely. Well, listen, thanks very much for your time, and I'm sure we'll
Thanks very
catch up
much.
with you soon, King.
Gentlemen, thanks very much.
Cheers.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Thanks.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.